Hello. Welcome to Why Not Both, the podcast all about how our multiple passions and interests shape our identity and our lives. My name is Pam Schaefer, and I am a musician and therapist in Los Angeles, and I also happen to be your host. This podcast is produced by Laura Studeris, and for this season, we've partnered up with Under the Radar magazine. If you like what you hear, you can hang out with us on social media. We are on Twitter and Instagram at WNB the podcast. And if you really, really like what you hear, please support us on Patreon. We are under Why Not Both podcast. When you join our Patreon, you get a whole bunch of really cool behind the scenes stuff and you get to chat with us. And that's pretty awesome. Thank you so much for your support, and I hope you enjoy our interviews. Welcome to Why Not Both.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
It's such a pleasure to get to actually speak with you. I was listening to your music this morning and I was just like, ooh, it has this,
I know.
it has this beautiful, I don't know how, like, I wish I had the vocabulary to describe it. It reminds me of some of the chants that we would sing in temple as a kid, like in synagogue.
Yeah.
There's all these like,
Jewish,
yeah, there's these beautiful like rhythmic but melodic elements that keep repeating and building on each other. And I was like, oh, this is so comforting.
I know. It's just that like whole African, like the prayer chant, the like positive chant, like sending like positive energy and just kind of like a hopeful message type of thing. That's what the music is really all about.
That's what came across while I was listening to it. I got like lost in it while I was doing my morning journal. I was like, oh, this is so wonderful.
Yeah. Well, that's what we try to do with this record. I mean, all the past records have been that way, but I mean, I guess with this one, we just kind of try to follow, keeping the same, that musical journey, veering into like a more electronic territory, but just keeping with the sound of the band, of message of hope, keeping the positive vibes and positive energy. I mean, considering the last couple of years that we've had, it's just been just mad and crazy all over the world. So it's like, it just felt like music for us was a way, to just come back to that reflective domain of just, coming back to music, taking all back to music, because like music kind of gives us hope, and just a way to face our demons and face our trials, which is sort of what we've all been through in the last 2 years. So it just felt like making music to kind of keep us hopeful and future looking was kind of quite important.
Yeah, like it's been so interesting talking to artists during this time because like some of it has been reflecting on the experience by making music that's like informed by that, like that kind of feeling of like being mired in the experience of the last few years. And then there's artists like you just said, where it's like that forward feeling and that like that reaching for hope and creating that hope in the music.
Exactly.
It's been fascinating. And like, did you feel that like making it, did you start feeling those feelings again? Like, did you start feeling hopeful because you were making the music? I was like, I'm like chicken egg.
I think it was I think it was a feeling of both though, because like, we weren't touring anymore, we weren't like playing live music anymore. But so the natural progression was, so yeah, well, at least we can still keep making music. But we couldn't get away from the fact that, well, we're in this sort of bubble of a time where we're not sure what's going to happen tomorrow. We're not even sure when we're going to be able to go back to work. We're not sure when we're going to see family. So it's like different songs you kind of brought up different emotions, like, being able to see someone again, and then you suddenly remember, oh my goodness, I haven't seen my mom. Oh my goodness, I haven't seen some of my siblings. Oh my goodness, I haven't seen some of my friends across, the other side of the world. And it kind of, it became a bit more reflective in terms of the lyrical content as well. So it was a bit of both.
Yeah. I was curious actually how you managed to make this, like, it's this incredibly rich tapestry of music. I was like, were you in the same place as everybody or were you working remotely? I was like, how did you?
Well, I mean, Max and I kind of work together most of the time, and then the other guys in the band are we're all in London based anyway, so we were able to like do like little pockets of bubbles every now and then. thankful too for the opportunity to work with the guys from Hot Chip as well. They're also London based, so we're able to like sort of get together as try and find like a time and fix a time and then get together. So we blocked out like 2 months, something like 2 months, and then another month.
Oh,
So it was kind of, yeah, it kind of just worked out that, sometimes we would work remotely and then sometimes we'd be in the room together and then we just kind of progressed and just, kept things, just sort of went with the flow. Because
God.
that's what it was all about at that point. You couldn't really predict anything. You just had to go with the flow. Like, okay, you know what, let's see who's available. All right, let's
Yeah.
have a Zoom, try out, let's sample things out. Okay, then let's meet in the studio or let's just come in together. Yeah, that's how it was, just kind of went with the flow.
I love that you just rolled with it. Like that's been kind of the ongoing theme of people that I've been talking with.
Exactly.
And it's like if you try to plan this, it almost weirdly enough, it reminds me of talking to one of my friends when she had a baby, where like she's
Yeah.
talking about how you think that like things are gonna go a certain way, but you're
Mhm.
dealing with a teeny tiny brand new to the world human that's like, surprise, it's actually gonna go this way.
Exactly. You're like, right, no, sorry, I'm hungry at this point, and then I have to get fed at this point. Yeah, it's true. It's a bit like that. You can't plan it, isn't it? It's just you just have to go with the flow,
Yeah.
and yeah, and that's how it was. And then one song to another, and the other song to another, and yeah, but it was quite a fun. I feel like it was quite a fun time and a reflective time as well because we kind of were forced to. I mean, we like making music, we love making music anyway, but it kind of gave us a focus to like every day be like, okay, right, okay, this is what we have to do. You
Yeah.
have an idea one day, or somebody has an idea, starts with an idea one day, and then I'll be like, oh, okay, maybe I can put a bit of vocals, or then Max will be like, okay, I'm going to put some drum beats, and then just gradually progress. And then if something didn't work, and then you had time, like, okay, we can rework that, we can look at that again, we can change something there, and then we got everything ready enough to the point that when we got to the studio, we were able to like tweak things here and there.
Right. Right. And that sounds like in some ways it took the pressure off. Like trying to write when you're in the studio sometimes can be, at least for me, I feel really pressured that it's like, come up with your best idea right now. And I'm like,
Yeah,
I suddenly
that's
have
true.
no idea.
No,
Like,
actually, like one of the songs. All That You Want, for example. I mean, we'd finished it, and then we hadn't really like had a sort of a. We're like kind of toying with the chorus and everything, and then it was like on the day we got to the studio, like the final day when we were working, and it was like, oh, we had Al came up with like the big idea at the end, and then we like kind of built the chorus, like a massive big chorus around it, and then that was it. And then something like Protection from Evil, like one of the first songs on the album, it was just basically just a chant, just a prayer chant, just going through. And then everybody was like, oh, what does that mean anyway? And then I was like, okay, we're in this time, and then we're all, fighting this unseen thing that we can't even see. So it's like a prayer, it's like a chant for protection, to be protected from whatever it is that we don't even know.
yeah.
And I just bust out with this chant, spiritual, invisible protection from evil, and that became the mantra of the song, pretty much.
Wow. I was like,
Yeah,
that's intense and I love it.
I know it is very intense. It was just like speaking in tongues and just channeling and just putting like that kind of positive and prayerful energy out there to just protect us just from whatever it is, because like it was becoming like quite, like, okay, what is this exactly? It's like it's good when you can see what you're dealing with, but when you can't see what you're
Hey,
dealing with, like, what exactly is going on? So
it reminds
yeah, so it was
I was like, this is about to get so nerdy. Um,
yeah.
it reminds me of like the ancient Greek concept of miasma, which like we use in modern English to mean like kind
Mm-hmm.
of like bad energy or kind of like a bad smell, like
Yeah.
lingering, but like it just meant
Mm-hmm.
like kind of the energy around you. And it does imply that it's like bad, but like that's like the like
Yeah.
like the little evil eye symbol, like to ward off the
Of
evil eye
course.
that
Yeah,
was to ward off
that's true. Yeah.
miasma. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
it reminded
Ah,
me of
interesting.
that, of like that there's this
Ah,
invisible like evil
thing.
hanging about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you made kind of like the sonic equivalent of like the little evil eye being like, no, go away.
Yeah, that's true. True. That's true. Very, very true. Very, very true. Yeah.
I was just like, come down this nerdy rabbit hole with me.
Well, that's what it was. Yes, and I mean, we quite like that one. We quite like that one. We like all the songs anyway.
Well, it sounds like it gave you kind of like a focal point during all of this because it's been really
Mm-hmm.
difficult when I don't know, like hearing you even say like, and we couldn't play out live, like our identities have kind of shifted during this time because we haven't been able to do
Yeah,
the things that we usually like do, and
that's
we aren't
true.
out in the world in the way that we usually are. And I was curious, I was like, I guess like, were there any new parts of your identity that you ended up embracing during this time that like had either been subterranean or that you hadn't explored yet?
Well, I just it was nice to just sit, sometimes and just sit and be quiet, because we had like endless time just to
Yeah.
sit and just think, ponder, and walk, go for walk. We used to go for walks a lot, I mean, but luckily we've got like a big garden where we are, so it's like a big communal garden. So we would go
Oh,
out when the sun was out. It was nice to actually go out and sit out a lot, and then just think about things, and then ideas would come. Sometimes ideas would come, and then we'll just note things down. Or when we're walking, we'd hear something. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe that could work when we go into the studio again. So it was quite a nice. I think it was quite a nice time to just sit, yeah, and be quiet and not have so much because usually, I mean, we would have been touring or just working, just go, 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 go nonstop. And it kind of made me just sit and be like, oh wow, okay, I can actually just be still. Just be still.
yeah.
Funny enough. So yeah, that's it kind of gave it gave me that kind of outlook just to be like, okay, you know what? We don't always have to be like always running, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Kind of a time to just we've been forced to sit down, reflect, read, just do stuff more on a slow pace,
And
and
it's,
then I think
I was just imagining you sitting in like the garden, and I'm like, it's so interesting to think that we somehow escaped from that lifestyle. Like, I was like,
yeah,
why
I
would we
know,
have
isn't it?
ever drifted from that? Like the fact that this is almost like a return to that. I'm like, where did we go wrong in
Yeah.
the last like 100 years? It's like that we somehow forsook like time to sit in the garden. Like,
Right, time to sit and then be I think be a bit more, yeah, a bit more creative and do other things as well, stuff that we didn't have time over the years to do, and then learn other things. And then I found out that I started like picking up other hobbies, other things, just like, okay, I
yeah.
can do this, I can try this, I can try that. Yeah. So I just spent time like trying to play the piano, trying to play the guitar, trying to make stuff, trying to make music. So I kind of in all the quietness, I just felt like, okay, it was time to sort of explore
Mm,
everything musical plus more.
mm.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm like, ooh, what was the plus more? I was like, what did you more?
Just everything.
Like, I was like, was it more than the sourdough? There was this huge sourdough in the US. Like everyone went ballistic over sourdough.
Really?
I don't know what it was. Like everyone was just like, this is what we're doing for months on end is sourdough. And I was just like,
Sourdough. Wow. Okay.
what?
Okay. I mean, there was a lot of cook. There was a lot of cook. I guess, yeah. We all had to learn how to cook and, yeah, bake and
Like,
learn how to cook and bake. And then the funny thing was like one of the days when we went to the studio, we now discovered this book. Oh gosh, I can't remember the band now. Oh my goodness. There was a book that like it was in the studio and I started reading, and it turns out that like there were like songs from over the years that related to cooking. So it was like a music and a cooking thing. I was like, wow, this is even more interesting.
wow. You're like, this is weirdly on point for where we're at right now.
There's a cooking and music. And like, wow, now this is it. Oh my God, I wish I could remember the name of the band. Oh God.
That's really funny. You're just like a gift to me about what I'm going through right now.
Using music to cook a music, it's like music inspiring a particular dish or recipe, and it was just like quite just weirdly intertwined. And I was like, wow, that is actually, well, that's true anyway, because usually when you're cooking you have music on anyway. You'd always have music.
Yes.
And it was,
Because I don't know about you, but I like cooking for other people because by the time I'm like done
yeah,
cooking, I feel as though I've already completed the activity and I am like done. I just want to be like not even like in the same room as it. And then I forget that it's like the whole point of cooking things is like to eat them. Because I'm like, the project is done. I'm done. Goodbye.
True.
When someone else is there, I'm like, oh, see, I made this for you. Whereas for me, I'm like, well, I want to do something else now. I'm like, why am I making this? So, like, maybe if I connected it to like particular songs, because yes, I do listen to music. Like when I'm cooking, I find that I like to listen. I don't know. It's the same as when I'm reading, though. I like to listen to instrumental music because if I get too into the story of like the song, I forget the cooking bit. Like I mess up on a step or two.
You know, you get so into the music. I mean, there's music that makes you like that. You just get into, and then you start to think, oh wow, what is the backstory? What were they thinking of when they were writing this? What was going on? And then it's true, you can't easily just get swayed into the moment, into the story, into the music, into where it's going. You know, what's the back, where it was coming from, and where it's taking you to. Well, that's what music does, isn't it?
Yes.
That's what music does, and I'm kind of happy that we sort of had that. At least we still had that during lockdown, you know, at least we still had that, even though we couldn't do it live, we couldn't share with people, you know, but I'm glad that, you know, in a way we had that. And then it has to come back because I kept saying, well, if any time out of times in the world that we kind of really, really need music is right now, you know, when we're going through all this, because music helps us heal, music helps us, you know, forget, you know, just kind of escape from the reality and, you know, the now and what's happening. So, you know, I kind of felt bad that, you know, we couldn't go out and play music because I feel like people probably really needed music at this time more than ever.
Yeah.
But it's like, nope, we can't do that either. And so you find people, funny enough, there was like a group of us, like locally, people would like play music and just go out in the garden and just play, just people could listen or hear.
Yeah.
And then I had like a lady, a friend of mine who's a neighbor who like she's a piano teacher as well. Every now and then she'd like, you know, sit out and then just open up her windows and then just play. And then it was so nice just to like just be walking down the street and just hear, maybe going for walks and just hear her playing, and then you'd hear people like, you know, either practicing the saxophone or it was just there was always music around. So it was like, oh my God, that actually feels really nice to hear that. And then you'd be walking down, you know, and you see people in their front window actually playing. You know, it was like they were sending out some energy out, and it was so nice. It was so nice just to see that, you know.
Wonderful. Like that feeling of when you're sharing live music with someone, like
exactly.
There's nothing quite like that. Like I must admit, I'm a shy studio rat for the most part. I will sit and tweak like 70 vocal layers mixed with whales, like just to torture my mixer. It's become a running joke. Now he's like, you're just putting whale sounds in here just to mess with me. And I'm like, so you're not wrong. There's something like sharing space with someone, and like over the summer, like last summer, they started having like a concert series in the park by my house, and that was amazing. Like so that people could enjoy live music, but it's like outside. And now there's a whole series in LA. I think it's called Floating, that they do all outdoors.
Nice.
And so yeah, like that's that really feeling you're describing.
I mean, I'm glad that we got that back somewhat. I mean, obviously not 100%, but it's nice to see music back in our spaces again. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like how has it been? Like, have you had a chance to share some of the new music live with people? Like, have you been able to like either play outside or things like that? I know that right now London is
yeah, we did. We had a few festivals when things opened up again back in the summer. We had a few trickle here and there. So it was actually the first one, funny enough, the first one after lockdown was really strange because for the first time, I mean, we're a live band and we play live music and we play music that people want to dance to. I mean, once in a while we'll do like a sit down concert, and even that is kind of hard to sit down. But story, so we get to this venue and it was outdoors. So this club that we played in a while back in Manchester set up this like outdoor space. Just again because of lockdown, we couldn't have indoor venues open,
Yeah.
so they set up this outdoor space. They transformed this like old old what you call it, like a parking lot with like old cars. They set up like really huge stage with like old cars. They did up like a diner setting. It was really, really nice, well thought out. And then they put like sit down areas, and then you had to be in your bubble. So you had like a table of 4, a table of 6, a table of 8, and then they sold tickets, and then people had to come in an orderly fashion. They had to be, ordered into their sitting area, and then for the whole entire time they had to sit down. Now you can see people are like slowly trying to move, and they're like halfway through the set. People are like dancing, and then the stewards are like coming down, like sit down, sit down, sit down. Like, and of course, I've opened my big mouth and said, "Yes, you can stand up and move, but make sure you stay in your bubble." I thought, "Oh no, I just invited people to dance, and we're not supposed to be dancing." It's good enough they've opened up for us to get up and at least come and see a show. But no, you're not supposed to be dancing. You're supposed to be just watching the show. I said, oh no, shame. I have told people to dance. And then, oh God, now I'm going to get in trouble.
You can be here, but don't enjoy it that much. That's too much enjoyment.
Like, they've given you a favor. They told you, yeah, you can come out, or you have to sit down.
You can come out of your cave, but no dancing.
And I'm thinking, oh no, what have I just done? Anyway, the stewards managed to get them to them, so they sit down. But they're thinking, I mean, knowing the English public, people just love to, they want to express themselves. But you can see they're twitching. They're like really twitching, like trying to dance on their seats. And they're thinking, oh my God, this is not going to go down well. And then by the end of the show, everyone's like up. And then they're all up. And the stewards like, sit down. And then no one is even listening to him at this point. I'm thinking, oh no. I'm thinking, oh, shame, we're going to get in trouble with the government. We're going to be told off. We're probably not going to get another gig. You're
like, what have I done?
I'm like, what have I done? But then after that, I'm thinking to myself, but hang on a minute, this is what we've all wanted. I know we're supposed to be careful, we're supposed to be cautious, but yeah, we're all trying very hard to obviously stay sanitized, stay masked up and everything. So I think, to be honest, in fairness, we have to give it to people. They've tried, we've all been locked down for 2 years and people just want to get out. People just want to just be like, you know what, suck this. I just want to have a bit of a normal kind of life, even if for 5 minutes.
Yes. I just want to dance in my bubble.
And then sure enough, after the gig, like everything, right, go home now, go back to another lockdown. And then we had another lockdown, like just right after that. So we're like, oh my God. And then some gigs now got cancelled again. And we're like, oh my God, not again. So it was a bit up and down, up and down. We get dates and then we're like, okay, we're not sure if anything's going to happen. We're like, okay, fingers crossed, maybe that's going to get cancelled. And then a few more get cancelled. But then we have some other ones that came up and then we're able to go to. And then I think there was another one that all of a sudden felt like there wasn't a lockdown because people were out. Again, it was outdoors anyway, but there was like so many people. I hadn't seen so many people like in the last 2 years. I was like, oh my God, it's back to normal. It's not a lockdown. And people are like, sorry, whatever. We were like, no. I'm thinking, are we supposed to be mixing or are we not? I don't know.
Right. I realize like we've all like lost like some of our like social cues. Like
exactly.
It's the weirdest thing. Like a friend of mine was visiting from Canada and like she came to go on a hike with like 2 of my other friends and like we all gathered like outside and we all were standing there trying to figure out like, do we hug? And we were all just kind of awkward.
Or do we not? I know. It's just like, oh God. But it's good to like, in a way, it's good to sort of, I keep saying, you know what, it's good to just look at it and try and laugh about it and try and put it behind. I know it's obviously for some people it's been really serious, it's been deeper. Than, because a lot of people have had to deal with loss and everything. So we're trying to like obviously navigate that as well and respect people who are trying to deal with that as well. And be like, okay, so yeah, music heals, but then can we have fun or can we not have fun?
Yeah.
And so it's just been so different, so different. So we try to go like, you know what, let's just celebrate life and let's celebrate people that are here, people that have gone. You know, we're all in the same boat. We've all, you know, we're all dealing with this one way or the other. So, you know,
Yeah.
I think in a way, let's just try and celebrate life. And I think music being the one thing that brings us all together, that's the way we've had to just deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks to kind of the breadth of human emotion that it's like when we aren't
Yeah.
sure, it's almost like when something really horrible happens, like I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you've had this experience, but like for instance, like at a funeral or like afterwards you have like a gathering
Yeah.
after the funeral and you're not sure
Yeah.
who's the first person who can crack a joke, but someone always
Yeah.
cracks a joke.
With us
Then
too.
it like
Yeah.
and then it reminds you like,
It
oh
does.
yeah, we're celebrating life, we're celebrating this like memory together. But
Exactly.
it's this feeling
Yeah.
of like you're allowed to have those feelings of grief and you're allowed to
Hmm.
have those feelings of celebration. Like one doesn't cancel out the other. It's
Yeah.
like you're allowed
Yeah.
to have
Yeah.
the full
The full
spectrum.
spectrum. No, so totally agree with you. I agree with you. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I'm glad that you can bring that joy. Like that's the thing is like I think
Yeah.
sometimes when horrible things happen, people are like, "Are we allowed? Are we allowed to dance in our bubble?" Like, it's like you're like, "Am I
It
allowed
was
to
just really
smile
awkward. Yeah. Yeah, it was really awkward. Because being the first one, yeah, the first one after, yeah, the 2 years. And of course, we hadn't played. And
again?"
then I'm thinking, oh, can I remember lyrics? Can I even remember what I'm supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be doing again? Oh, dear. I don't know. You know, all these emotions. And then you have to like bring people in and the people feel comfortable. And then another thing also, it was the fact that were people comfortable enough
Oh,
to, you know,
yeah.
really come out, you know, because people were still dealing with the fact that, okay, yeah, they don't really want to go out into public space, so they don't really want to be out there. Yeah, they'll come out and see a show, but, you know, they still want to be, you know, kind of um sensible and, you know, with
Yeah.
everything. So you just like just gauge all of that as well, you know?
Well, and so much in sharing music is like kind of
Yeah.
in a way like harnessing that collective energy that you're feeling from the audience.
Exactly. That's the thing. And because our musicals also, our music is very much about, yeah, audience engagement, engaging with the audience. And then when you don't have that, you kind of feel like, oh, hang on a minute. It's like walking, almost like walking on crutches. I mean, we should probably be able to just do a show, you know, but then it's all about the interaction. It's all about that connection with the audience and then having them connect with the music as well. And then if they can't, then it kind of begs the question that, oh, hang on a minute, am I doing something wrong? Am I, you know, but
Oh,
then it's not because of that. It's just because of the situation whereby you can't really, you know, there's not much you can do about it and just allow people to like experience it the way they want to experience it.
yes.
Mm.
Yes. Like sometimes shows go differently. Like, I guess, have you been back like to go to shows since this? Like, are there any artists that you've seen play?
Oh, I went, funny enough, now I'm the audience now. So I went to
Yeah.
just a local, there was a local band just in my local pub, not too far down the road. And this is like this last wave. And literally, I went in with, funny enough, I went in with a mask and I sat like at the back the entire time. I wouldn't go into the crowd.
Yeah.
I just thought, it's like, it's just like, again, I'm thinking, wow, okay. So now I'm understanding what people have to deal with. Like, okay, you have to like allow people if they like think, okay, I'm gonna go in the crowd, or okay, no, I think I'm just gonna stay, you know, on the outskirts and just enjoy it. But then I still had fun because then I
Yeah.
was not far from the door. The door was open most of the time, and then there's just
Yeah.
air coming and going. And then so it was in a way I was like, okay, you know what? It's actually fine that I can sit here and still enjoy the show, even though it was right at the back, you
Yeah.
know. So it's just, yeah, that's just, I think it's just different times, different periods, because it was quite packed in the pub. It was really packed, you
Wow.
know,
Wow.
really packed. I was like, okay. So then again, it got me questioning, hang on a minute, I thought we were supposed to be a bit more scanty or a bit more less people in a
Yeah.
room. So
Yeah.
again, that kind of, it's not that it's worrying, it's just you kind of think, okay, so what do we do, what do we do? But you just have to get on with it.
Well, it's that like I've been talking to people about it's like the mental calculus because on one hand, like we're
Yeah.
like we just want this to be done, but we also want to be safe,
Yeah,
but also what feels safe for me.
exactly.
what's been the news
Exactly like what you were saying
today?
about the your social, knowing your social, like, okay, hang on a minute, what are we supposed to hug? Are we supposed to be here? Are we supposed to, you
Yeah.
know, feel free and then just forget? It's just like, it's just so mentally like a lot to process. Like, okay, can I actually just go out and be myself? But I mean, I guess it's
Yeah.
just down to the moment, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. And it takes up so much like mental energy that's I at least
Oh,
yeah, I'm
yeah.
like I've been very like
Do I go
spared.
out? Do I go out
Yes.
tonight? Do I not go out? Oh, I've got a shoot to do tomorrow. Now, okay, can I go out and then risk? Oh, no, maybe I shouldn't go out tonight. Maybe I should wait until I've done what I need to do and then go out the next.
Like by the time you're done, you're just like, do I have the energy to go out now that I've strategized? Like it's just like
Because they're thinking, oh, you need to do this important thing, but then you have to make sure that you got a negative, so that you
yes,
can. So you have to make sure you keep, almost like you sanitize yourself in a bubble before you have to do this, so that you're okay to go and do this important thing. Because if you can't, then that throws everything out of the
yeah,
mill.
and everything has gone horribly awry, and you're just like, oh my god. Like, it's like
Oh dear, what a time,
exonerating.
what a time, what a time. But you have to just like, yeah, like I always say, you have to find the light at the end of the tunnel, the positive in everything, and just carry on, you
Yes, and
know.
like and relying on like I love that you had the touchstone of music, like thinking about like what pinged in my head was like all of this like controversy over like Spotify and people learning more about how
Yeah.
like artists are compensated. We're not surprised. Um,
And that as well. Oh, don't get me started on that. I saw something just the other day. What was it? Oh, India reposted something. I'm not going to say anything anyway, but I just was like, oh, okay.
well, yeah, it's like because like people turn to music, like artists turn to making music, but then people turn to listening to music, and I'm like, where do you
I
think it
know.
comes from? How do you think
I
it
know.
gets made?
Oh God. God help us is all I can say.
Yeah, and it's like it's interesting because a lot of
Oh,
people have like talked about like revisiting either their favorite albums or like,
yes.
listening to new music that they've discovered during this time. Because like you said, people have the time to like
Hmm.
actually slow down and like
Yeah,
chill
you have a
out.
lot more than you like can you check out, isn't it? Because now your ears are like open to like hearing stuff, right?
Yes. And
Mm.
it's like it's interesting to me, at least the controversy is interesting because like whenever I see controversy around something, to me it means that it might change soon. Like usually if
Yeah,
there's like a lot of
true.
conflict around something, I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, that means that there might be movement, there might be change here.
yeah, very true.
And so I'm
Very
like,
true.
and I was like, oh, over this time we've all been consuming so much art that I'm like, maybe
Hmm.
people are realizing something different about like how they're consuming art.
This is
Maybe
true.
they're
This
listening
is
to
true.
artists more and they're like, wait a second. Because, yeah, especially hearing that you were recording during this time, like, I would imagine that a lot of like kind of like your income and what you do for your job
Yeah,
is touring, and that was taken
yeah,
away. And I was like,
exactly. That was taken away. Totally, totally,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
like,
and then you wonder, so how do we, so yeah, you need to wonder how do you survive in this time? But I mean, luckily, some people, had it all right, that, the income stream that comes from when people listen to the music, at least that's able to keep you going. But then when you don't get anything from the streaming, then so what happens?
right,
Yeah,
right.
so what happens? Because you have to think, yeah, so if you can't, if you're not getting that pocket that comes from the live gigging,
Hmm.
then it has to come from somewhere else. So
Right.
if somebody's listening to the music, so something should be coming back for that listening, for that, person that is listening. But then if it doesn't, then obviously it affects what I and so many others should be getting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. But it's what it is. And yeah, like you said, well, we hopefully there'll be change in the way that, either the way it's consumed and the way it's received, and what should be received and how.
Yes. I like that framing of it of like what should be received and how, because I think that people have seen music recently as something that just like arrives to them.
Yeah. This is true, It's like I think we've taken it for granted so much, and then now we kind of realize, the importance of it now more than ever.
Yeah.
And if it got taken away, and imagine if you got taken away and then you had to actually pay a premium for it, then maybe it'll become more valuable. Because back in the day, I mean, before there was streaming, before there was internet and Wi-Fi and everything, you had to physically go to somewhere and pay premium to
Yes.
see an artist. So whether it was classical music, whether it was jazz, whether it was world music, whether it was R&B, anything. But I mean, obviously, if we go back, really, really back to the early days of, going to like receive music and, hear music, you had had to pay top money to go and see
Yeah.
a special kind of music because it wasn't readily available. And then you had to buy the record and
Yeah.
take it home and listen to it because you
Yes.
couldn't get it anywhere else, you
Yes.
know?
I remember saving my allowance to go to
Mhm.
the record shop, and like I had,
Right?
yep. And like I would be like, okay, like what album do I want to buy this week? Because I could afford like one album. And so
Mhm.
like I'd listen like at the store, like you could, like listen to the different CD
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
And so you'd kind of like sample stuff to see like what you felt like and what really spoke to you. And then you would get that album. And then I don't know about you, but then I would listen to that album like that whole week. Like I would just like
Exactly. That's true, isn't it? Because you spent this shoot because you spend your premium money on it. So you wanted to absorb and take it in as much as to every detail of it,
yes.
you know?
Yes. I was just like, I want it to sink into my pores.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so true. I mean, I remember like, yeah, it was the same thing because like I was born in London, but I spent my childhood in Nigeria as well.
Ah,
So hence the album Ibibio, because it's kind of the language that my grandparents and my mom told us stories when we were growing up. Anyway, so my mom she would buy records at the time. She'd get like some friends of ours would come on holiday and then they would like give a shopping list of the records that she wanted and then we would buy it and then bring it back. And then obviously because at the time it wouldn't have come out yet, for example, in Nigeria. So
oh,
she would have to buy it and then they would bring it back. And then it would be like, oh my goodness. And then it would be there. I remember would write out the lyrics, would listen over and over and over and over and over just to get the lyrics written out, just so we could sing along. Yeah, it was that precious. And I remember, so many records like Manu Dibango, Whitney Houston, like so many records we just sit there and we just trying to like absorb the lyrics and we're like writing it out in paper, trying to get all the lyrics to be able to sing along when we put the pin on the record.
oh my gosh. Also, I imagined like traveling with all that vinyl, you'd probably be like, this is mine, do not touch it. like, don't breathe on me.
and then of course, and then after that then there was cassettes. And
Yes,
then and
yes.
then there was there's cassettes with the Walkman. Yeah, I remember then there was Walkman
Mm-hmm.
and then there was the CDs and then and then it was just like and then it gradually evolved and then the next thing fast forward to now and it's like, well, okay, yeah, we could just get it on Spotify. Oh yeah, just get it on iTunes. Oh yeah, just go to YouTube. It's like, oh.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like a song popped in my head, like a song lyric from a song that I think I last heard in maybe like 2016. And I was like listening
Mhm.
to it in my head. And then I Googled the lyrics and then I found the song and then I listened to it on Spotify. And it's like the fact that I could pull up a song in my mind from that long ago and find it, doing that,
Mm.
it took like, I basically was just
Yeah,
playing it in
yeah.
my head for a while to get enough pieces of it that I could then like actually try
Yeah,
and
I remember what it
but
was, yeah.
yeah, but the fact that I could then go and get it, that is such a different experience. Like that it was
Mm-hmm.
just right there. It
It's
was just sitting there, just waiting.
just there. That's yeah.
And I was like,
It's so like different, isn't it? It's just like so forward moving now. It's very, very,
yeah,
very forward moving and it's just amazing to think, what it's going to be like, like come like what 5 years, 10 years from now, you
yeah.
know, you know.
I'm curious how it will evolve because like I feel like people do have like really strong relationships with songs, but I feel like in some ways, unless someone is like a superstar or they're like a cult favorite, people don't have as much of a relationship with artists. And I feel like people are starting to
Mm.
cultivate that again.
Yeah, I think so too. People are starting to like find bonds, especially, because like sometimes you think, okay, you just want to find stuff that not everybody else is listening to. You just want to
Yeah.
find those rare, just rare music that you can't like, is not like just readily available. But I mean, because of the internet now, you can literally find anything now these days.
Right.
Yeah.
But then
Mhm.
connecting it back to the artist, like I'm so curious, how did that inform like kind of your music writing that you were going back and forth? Like I was just like, oh, that would be really fascinating to have kind of the cultural melding of that. And that explains like now what I was hearing in
Yeah.
music. I was like, oh,
Yeah. Exactly. Now because like, because we've all got like there's 8 of us in the band and we all have like different influences. We've got like West African high life, we've got the disco, we've got the electronic. So all that kind of coming together. I mean, being able to just find music online or just being able to find, old records that, we kind of take from and just listen to them like, oh, that's like kind of a good reference point. That's kind of a good sound, a good vibe. And yeah, that's really helped with our songwriting process as well.
yeah. And I would imagine, I mean, what were you listening to like when you were going back to Nigeria? Like, what were you listening to there? Because I'm like, you were bringing music to there, but I was like, I'm guessing that then you were experiencing music.
Yeah, no, at that the time we're like listening to things like Wano de Bango, like Sonia Day, like Miriam Makeba, Onyeka, and then across the pond we listen to stuff like James Brown, Angelique Kidjo as well. So there's quite a lot. Like it was sort of like a melting pot, to be honest, of like music from Africa, Nigeria, West Africa, Ghana, South Africa as well at the time. So it was just a kind of a mix, just listening to stuff and then also because a lot of the stories that I got told growing up were like told in Ibibio, and the language is quite rhythmic.
Mhm.
So that as well, coupling that with the singing style and the melodic style of the language kind of helped as well.
Yeah, when you said that you were like many of the stories were in Ibibio, and then you were like, so anyway, I was like, wait, no, come back to that part. I was like that's fascinating. Like, because
Yeah, yeah.
in for me at least, like I said, it reminded me a bit of like kind of almost like the circular like Hebrew chanting, where it's like it is
Hmm.
more rhythmic and it is more like when you're chanting Torah, like I remember hearing it as a kid, that's how people end up reciting it, is you memorize it because it has
Yeah.
like that rhythm and
Of
that
course,
movement.
yeah, exactly. It's got like I mean, the language itself has got movement. It's got like rhythms.
Mhm.
So I could, if I said like a phrase, just even the way saying it, because of the tone, it's got like a up and down tone. It's got
Yeah,
inflection. So that in that phrase, just the way I would say it, for example, is quite melodic. So then putting it to music, then it kind of just lends itself and ties in, kind of fits like a puzzle.
I love that. Like, I was like, that sounds amazing. Like, and hearing you say that and listening back in my head to what I was listening to this morning, I was like,
Yeah.
this makes total sense. Like,
Yeah.
it's like it's this beautiful, I don't know how to say it other than rhythm melody. And like,
Yeah, it is. Yeah, rhythm melody. No, you're right. You're quite right there. Rhythm melody. Yeah, it is.
and that's what a beautiful way of speaking and also imparting stories. Like it seems like then you
Yeah.
can convey so much more emotion through like just even the tone of it, along with, of course, like the words
Mhm.
you're saying, but then, you know, when you said that
Yeah.
you're like speaking in tongues, was any of it kind of like informed by that feeling? Like, was that kind of what was coming up?
Well, I think to be honest, because it's tongues is sort of more of a made up. It's sort of like a made up chanting kind of language. But I feel like because of with the Ibibio language, yeah, there's probably a little bit of that influence in just the way that the tongues, whatever, like just comes out, just like random
Yeah.
comes out. It has that inflection of the language as well.
I was I was thinking like have you heard like Sigaros, the artist Yonsei, and like
Figures, yeah,
yeah,
yes, 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 yes,
he
yes, yes.
sings often in what he called Hopelandic, which is like it's yeah, where
Yeah.
it's almost the inflections of Icelandic, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not actually Icelandic. Like it's just
It's
like
just like made up language, isn't it? Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. It's, I mean, I love all that kind of stuff because it just mean it feels like you're not trying to come up with anything. So you're just going with what your ear kind of hears, receives, and then as at that point, whatever, it's kind of like an imagination. Like you're trying to say something, but you're not trying to like make sense of it, but you just say it anyway, and then you just get it how it comes out pretty much. So
yeah,
I think that's what like that kind of chanting, speaking in tongues, like the whole Yonsi Icelandic thing as well. It's kind of very, very similar to that too.
yeah. It's almost like expressing a feeling, and it's close enough to like spoken language that our ears kind of parse it
Mhm.
that way.
Yeah, exactly. You process it like yeah, spoken language, but it doesn't actually mean anything. But
Right.
then it sounds quite melodic in the way it's delivered. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's also to do with maybe I always think it's probably something to do with the ears as well, because sometimes you just hear things and then you kind of like get it out. And then it could be melody, it could be just a phrase, but sometimes just the way it comes out, and then you think, oh, okay, that's the way you want to receive it as well. So it's all about the ear too, just what your spirit hears, your mind hears, your musical ear hears as well. It's
Yeah.
all that combination as well.
Well, that's
Yeah,
fascinating to hear things that are in different languages. Like when we're born, we kind of have like almost like a universal language chip in
that's
our head
true. Yeah,
essentially.
yeah.
And as we start learning like the language that's spoken around us, like we
Hmm.
lose sometimes the ability to either hear or produce like certain nuanced sounds from other languages.
That's true.
And so
That's
it's
so
so
true.
I was like, I wonder,
I think we all yes, I think we all have it. I think we all have it in us anyway. Like you said, you
yeah,
know, when you start to hear other like spoken languages around you, then you may sort of that might become a bit dormant and not being used. But every now and then your mind would sort of like go back into it, especially when like well, I feel like when you're like in a free space when you don't have to like really think about what you're trying to like you're not trying to say something, you're just, you
right.
know, letting faith or, you know, whatever is in the air, whatever spiritual, you know, vibes or things
Yeah.
that you're getting at the point, then just allow yourself to just hear and just go with the flow pretty much.
Yeah, and being in a space like you had talked about, like moving to the music, like even though it's like
Yeah,
illicit right now, it's like when you're in that space, you're in kind of your body and you're in the experience. So
that's
you're
true.
not
Yeah, exactly.
intellectualizing it. You're just kind of like,
No.
oh, I'm experiencing what's happening.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
I love that. No dancing. It reminds me of like an 80s movie or something like I was like, is it like Footloose where they're like not allowed to dance? Like there's like a no dancing movie. Like,
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know how that would go down. No dancing movie.
no dancing. There's no dancing allowed, but it's like when we're allowed to dance, then we can tap into all the stuff that's like that's
Yeah, isn't it?
here.
It's so true. It's so true. It's like, yeah, the mind is an interesting human. I always say the mind is an interesting human being because if
Mm.
we allow it, it's incredible. It's like when you open it up or just go into it, then you can
Mhm.
like receive, you can like really go into like a different sphere a lot
Yeah.
of times.
Yeah. And being
Mm.
able to be in that experience, like when you were talking about slowing down, really being able to
Yeah.
pause and be in that experience. And sometimes you come up with ideas, and sometimes I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like ideas are almost like fomenting. It's like they're doing their thing.
Yeah.
They haven't
They're
come to
doing their thing.
fruition yet, but they're doing their
Yeah,
little twinkly dance in
that's
there.
true.
And
That's true.
like,
It's all coming together. It's all like trying to do the dance of ideas, trying to like dance its way into existence, pretty much.
yes, yes. And when you actually slow down or even do something else other than the thing that you're trying to focus on, that also sometimes helps.
That's also yeah, that's true actually. Because I find sometimes that when it's so funny because like when I'm trying to, for example, if I'm trying to write something
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm like, oh my God, I need to like just focus. I need to do it now. But then if I find that I kind of do something else, like maybe cutting a fabric or ironing or trying to make something else, and then I've got like maybe like an element of something of what I'm trying to do, maybe like an instrumental part of the track just playing or just a loop playing. I find
Yeah.
that while doing something else, the idea that I need for that just comes along. It's like almost like side by side thinking, kind of.
Yes. Yeah.
You're keeping the other thing going, but then you're doing something else, and in that something else. It's just I don't know. It's just it's like a I don't know how to explain it.
I do the exact same thing where it's almost like if you focus too hard on something,
Yeah,
then
then it's like it's not gonna happen. But then when you take your focus off that, and then you're doing something else, okay. Oh, okay. Like for example, yeah, I mean walking, I find like walking a lot of times, like I'll just go walking and then I'll be like, oh, okay. And then it just drops. It's just oh, okay, all right, okay.
I'm
Like
almost
when you don't have when you're thinking hard. No, you're not thinking hard, it just comes.
like, oh my God, I was saying to one of my friends that I was like so annoyed at how well it works to go for a walk. Like every time I'm just like, why was that actually so effective?
Because at that point it's like your brain is like it's not actively trying to do anything. It's just like in the moment. It's just in that space, in that time, and like oh God, okay, that walk actually that was quite good to go and do that walk. That was actually quite good.
Like every time I'm like, I'm gonna put on my silly little sneakers and I'm gonna go for my silly little walk. And then I was just like, well, fine, I guess
And then
I
you come
feel
back.
better. And
I know, and
all
then
the
you come back and you're like, oh, that really did you, and you think, oh yeah, that did me good actually. That was really good, and then you look forward to the next time.
fine, I guess this is good.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's. I think that's just life. Yeah, that's life. Pretty much. Pretty much.
Oh, I guess what's on the horizon for you in like the next few months? Because it's like things, I mean, are a little shifty, but I'm like, are you able to like share more of the music with people live? Like, do you have like dates coming up? Like
Yeah,
what? Yeah.
we've got a tour. We've got a tour. I mean, the album comes out on the 25th of March, so we're like quite looking forward to that. And then we've got like tours lined up here in the UK. So
Yeah.
fingers crossed it's gonna happen. So that's what we're looking forward to now. So
Yes.
yeah, and then we still keep making music. Yeah, we kind of we sort of finished that, and then we still like, oh, okay, ideas come up, and we're like, oh yeah, let's keep that going, just keep that going, So yeah, this album, and then we're going to be touring the new material, and yeah, we just keep trying to put music out and keep trying to spread positive energy and
Yes.
love and spread hope and
Oh.
make people laugh, hopefully.
I clearly appreciate all of these things.
Help people to have a bit of a dance, help people
I
to
was gonna,
find their feet after being, just danceless for 2 years, so
yeah.
2+ years now.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I was just like, I haven't danced yet in public. I just realized that I was just like, oh, there was one.
Mm.
I, I guess I don't know if it's technically public. It was in someone's kitchen. I was just like, that's not public, Pam.
Aw.
I was
Aw.
a friend had like a holiday party that was like a whole like like vaxxed only blah blah blah, and it's like I didn't
Mhm.
know everybody there, and I was there with one of my friends, and everyone then sent me an Instagram story of I guess it was one of the guys from Grizzly Bear was there. Like I didn't know who he
Ah.
was, but he took a video of me and my friend dancing in the kitchen because I guess like he was just
Aw.
so excited to see people dancing.
People dancing.
And
Oh,
I'm
look at
like,
that. See?
I got like all these like Insta DMs from my friends. They were like,
Oh.
have you seen this video of you? And I was like, what? And like I was like, I didn't know him. And like the tagline was just like, he even wrote, he's like, I don't know these people, but I love them.
Oh. That's amazing. That's so amazing.
I was just like,
That's so
cool.
cool.
I've been like paparazzi'd by like Ed from Grizzly Bear. Shout out to Ed.
Oh, that is so cool.
Like, it's really
That's
funny.
amazing.
So it's just like, I guess technically I got caught dancing in public.
And I think so to see that made somebody's day to see some people dancing, because obviously they've not seen that like for like goodness, like for how long. And then it just kind of it's I think in that moment it must have been reassuring for him that wow, okay, there's hope. People are getting back to normal. Life is normal again. Wow, we can be happy again. We can dance. We can actually forget about what actually is happening. So I mean, that's probably like a screenshot of like, okay, you know what? This is where we're heading to now. So
yes. Like see those two in the kitchen dancing to the
exactly
song.
Exactly to document that for him must have been a big deal. So yeah. So Hooray, kudos to you. You made someone's life.
I was just like, we dance.
Yes. Oh, yes, of course. That's what we want to be anyway, to be able to be free, to dance, to live, to be happy, to, to enjoy life.
Thank you for bringing that into the world. I was just like, I shall bring your music and I shall dance in other people's kitchens.
Oh, thank you.
Kitchen dance parties everywhere.
Oh my God, that's probably going to be a new trend. Kitchen dance parties.
Exactly.
You locked onto something now. Kitchen dance parties. Oh my God. That could be a new thing, because I mean, really, because that was the only way people could actually do anything fun. Because if you're in your bubble, and I could remember seeing like Zoom dance. Oh my goodness, there were so many Zoom dance parties, Zoom wine drink up. I was like, wow, okay, we really know humans. We really know how to like. You know what? We're in a pandemic, but hey, hang on a minute. We're gonna have a Zoom dance party. We're gonna have a Zoom
wine. I got a laptop.
A friend of mine used to like DJ on Facebook, and then she'd like get all like a friend, and we'll all be on like Zoom dances. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I can't believe this. But I'm like, you know what? It makes us happy. So hey, why not?
Yes.
Why not? So you dancing in a friend's kitchen, that could be a start of a new era.
I love it. I have to contact my friend Andrew that I was with me, like, Andrew, this is what we're doing 2022. We're doing the tour.
That's it. Kitchen and they call it the kitchen disco. And then no, I wouldn't be surprised. Kitchen disco, and then the next thing you're gonna have flyers lying out, like kitchen disco, like, and then it'll be the kitchen one time, and then another few months it'll be somebody else's kitchen, and then before you know it, we'll all be taking a plane to somebody's kitchen across the world for a kitchen disco. Oh my God! We can't have indoor clubs. Hey, someone's got a kitchen big enough.
Oh my God, I was just like my brain went to the weirdest places. I was just like, oh my God, like TikTok would love this. And what about like Architectural Digest?
There you go. And then right now the designers, the architects are going to be thinking, oh, we have to now incorporate a kitchen disco. When you're building that kitchen sink and that floor, it has to be wide enough, and slide it, people can slide and or even roller skate on the kitchen.
It's like kitchen islands are out. Kitchen disco is in.
Oh, that's the future. See, it's funny because we're wondering about what the future was going to be like in the next few years. Well, there you go.
There we go. You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. Kitchen disco. They always say, remember when you were talking about ideas tinkling? That's the idea. It's just tinkling there. Only God knows. Anyway, at least now when it happens, it's your idea. But yeah, Pam, I remember that night. Pam came up with it. So nobody's owning that. Pam has ownership on that idea. I'm sorry. She said it first on the podcast. I'm sorry. Blame it. It's Pam's idea.
Be like, I was like, how do I add socialism to kitchen disco? Because I'm like, I don't want to be like a kitchen disco capitalist. I want to share the magic.
so capitalist. Oh dear.
I want everyone to enjoy it.
Well, we have to get a kitchen. We have to get a kitchen, a big kitchen with a big, island or something, and then that's it.
Oh my god!
Big kitchen.
Collectivist kitchen disco.
Oh dear.
I can just imagine listeners are going to be like, yes, music joy. Wait a second. This is taking a turn. I'm like, it's taking a turn to the kitchen disco. You're in the kitchen disco now.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time and with your energy. This is amazing. Thank you again for listening to this episode of Why Not Both? If you liked what you heard, please make sure to like us and subscribe to us on your preferred podcast platform. You can also come hang out with us on social media. We are at WNB the podcast, both on Instagram and on Twitter. This season, we are brought to you by Under the Radar magazine. Under the Radar is a nationally distributed print, music, and entertainment magazine and website. You can find them at www.undertheradarmag.com and feel free to support them on Patreon. Extra special thanks to our producer, Laura Studeris, who is literally a rock star. Thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you next episode.